Hello there, my beautiful family. It's Gemma here, and I am chiming in on these amazing energies of May that we are diving into as we begin this new cycle, this new month, after what was a very intense April. It seemed to me like the merry-go-round was not stopping anytime soon, and I know that there were a lot of us like, stop the ride, I want to get off, or had the feeling of spinning a hell of a lot of plates. I know for me there was a gazillion and one things going on, and it was very much a swinging between having an enormous amount of energy and clarity and then hitting the wall and going splat as we integrate those energies that are coming through, and also just move through all of the different portals and processes that were arising through those great cosmic transitions. I mean, how many could you actually pack into a month? It was absolutely huge. So we're through it. What does that even mean now as we step into this new month of May? Well, of course, that process that we have been moving through, those energies that we're receiving, they will continue. Especially, you know, those eclipse energies, that gong that's been struck really does resound for the next few months, 6 months, perhaps even through to the June solstice portal that is upon us. And the equinox energies, we're still in that 3-month cycle too. So we're always moving from cycle to cycle. It's not that something stops just because there's been a huge cosmic alignment. It's kind of like a medicine journey or a ceremony. You know, when people come to sit with me with the sacred medicine, I say to them, well, the ceremony, this formal ceremony that we've just been in, is only the beginning of the process. You know, you've been given a diamond in the rough, so to speak, and your job now is to polish it, to clarify it, to refine it, to start to really refine the gifts that you've received and put those gifts into practice. That is what we call integration. And as happens, the greater the expansion, then also the greater the integration process. The greater the expansion, the greater healing. The greater healing, the more time we need to allow for the gems and the jewels and the ahas to really drop in, and for that integration process to complete, so that we can rest in that process for a bit before that next wave of expansion comes again. And that wave of expansion isn't going to stop in May. In fact, if anything, we're moving into and embracing the expansion that we are receiving even more, and becoming more and more comfortable with the energies that are arriving to us, and some of the weirdness that they may be bringing into our lives in many different ways and forms. You know that I often talk about how we're experiencing things and these strange symptoms that we can be experiencing through the physical body, the emotional body, the spiritual mental body. You know, in the physical body, there is really, really strange stuff moving through, and it could look like so many things for so many different people. There is a process of clearing that is continuing to happen. So if there is an emotional process or something, some kind of trauma from this lifetime or from any others that you haven't been able to process in the moment because you either haven't had the tools, you haven't had the time, or you're in such deep trauma at the time that you're in fight, flight, or freeze, that you weren't able to process what was arising. Now is continually that time for those things to leave the system, and often that will happen through manifesting in the physical body. So it could be through strange rashes, it might be through headaches, it might be through a lot of tiredness, it could be through very weird aches and pains, it can be through strange sensations in the joints. There can be so many things that are happening as these old energies move out. And how do you know exactly what they are, and do you even need to know? Well, just by sitting in meditation and asking your higher self to show you what's happening can be super helpful, going into the sensation of where you're feeling these things in the body, and just ask, what is this? What are you trying to show me? And then not ruminating on a story, but being really glad that, wow, look at that. You know, this is me feeling like I was silenced as a child and wasn't able to speak my truth or show up in my joy or in my celebration without always being squashed. And these energies of, you know, even rage or anger at the suppression may be coming out in certain ways in the body. So what to do about those things? It's to support the physical body as those things continue to move through. You know, I'm a really, really big advocate for looking after the human avatar, as I would call it, and giving that human avatar everything that it needs to thrive on the, you know, the blood and the bones level. And then at the same time, the curing really happens. Curing meaning that we are getting something by its root really happens when we understand it and then liberate it on the level of energy through the physical body. So this process is happening a lot for us and will continue to happen. And then there's also the other that's happening that I'm always talking about a lot too, which is the photonic light that's being received, the new codes, the new frequencies, the divinity that we are being upgraded and awakened into. And it's like for example, I just got a new iPhone recently. Why? There was nothing really wrong with my old iPhone, except that every time there was a software update, the old iPhone couldn't handle the software update for the new operating system, the new system upgrade. And so it made it that old iPhone was super clunky. It was doing all kinds of crazy things. It couldn't keep up with anything that I was typing. And the whole thing about that was just that I needed to upgrade the hardware so that it could integrate and contain the information that was coming from the new software. Our bodies are just like that. So we need to support the hardware through our diet, through rest, through exercise, perhaps through some supplementation of certain things that help, particularly things that help the central nervous system like magnesium, to be able to integrate vitamin B, to be able to integrate those energies more effortlessly into the physical body, working too with practices like the guided meditations that I've been doing for you, and I can put some links of those below for you to actually start to learn how to work with anchoring and integrating those energies into the physical body, so that it's not just that they're out here and you're there, or not also that you're being smashed about by them, but how we're really now, after especially that big wave of energies in April, able to really assimilate and digest and integrate those energies so that they become a part of our next level of who we really are. And with that, you may also find that more and more you start to see where the fabric of reality is starting to tear and shift a little bit. As I said in one of my other videos, where the simulation is breaking down. And that can be one of two things. It can be either really exciting, and if you approach it with a wow, you know, a curiosity about what's happening and being like, oh, you know, like a kid in a candy store, or a baby that's seeing something for the first time, you know, that's in that state of expansion and of inviting in that new experience, and in this wow, this is actually happening, then it can be kind of cool and fun. The other way is to be in fear. And when something comes up for you, and I'm talking about things like our psychic senses opening up. So it may be for some of you that you are starting to hear things. You might be hearing voices, you might be hearing energies, vibrations. For some people, it may also happen with sight, that you're not only, perhaps you've been developing your intuition over time to be able to close your eyes and visualize and be able to call in, you know, sort of movie-like things where you're being shown specific things. Perhaps you have a knowing around things that are going to happen, or a feeling around things that are going to happen. And then all of a sudden, and maybe you've done no preparation or no practice of this at all, and it's just come out of nowhere, that with your physical eyes open, you are beginning to see things that are a little strange. And I'll give you an example of this. I was flying over here to the Netherlands from Bali just a few days ago, and I was sitting in the plane watching a movie, and all of a sudden there was a split down the center of reality of what my physical eyes could see. And the right hand side, which interestingly, when I contemplated it later, I realized is connected to the left hand side, which is the analytical part of the brain, was completely sharp and crystal clear, just like it is as I'm looking through my physical eyes now and everything that I'm seeing in my frontal and periphery vision. So that was there, normal. Then on the left hand side, like there was a perfect divide down the center. All I could perceive on this side were geometric shapes, um, different shades of blue and gold light, and things that look like portals spinning and almost like wormholes. And everything was shimmering, these geometric patterns, and it was like a vacuum of energy and doorways almost that led to simultaneous realities is the only way that I could explain it. And at first I'm like, oh, you know, it's sort of you doing these ones with your eyes and you're trying to focus your eyes, but it's not happening because something has opened. Now, when I tuned in and asked what was this all about, wherever it was that we were flying across at that time, there was, I believe, some sort of energetic gateway that we were crossing, probably a geodesic point, a ley line. And because this left side is connected to the right side of the brain, which is our intuitive side, which is the side that can activate, you know, these alternate realities and these senses beyond the five senses. This is why this left side opened to that, and this right side stayed very much in this 3D world. Now, for me, this was really about being okay and getting comfortable with accessing and being able to exist within two dimensions, multi-dimensions. It's not two, but, you know, I'm just referring to that because it was like a split in that moment, but that we are really walking between the worlds and getting more and more comfortable with that. And I know I speak to a lot of people, and I know for me as well, and this has been something that's happening for a long, long time for me, but even more so, is getting comfortable with it's not a feeling of being out of your body. You're in your body and you're here, but at the same time, it's almost like you are operating on autopilot. It's kind of like you're watching and witnessing things from above. You're seeing everything get done, and it's all happening seamlessly, but you're more the witness of it rather than the doer of it. And this is something more and more as we start to move beyond being governed by the mind and the constructs of the mind that needs everything to be in its compartmentalized little boxes, that needs to be in control of what's being said and done. This is more and more a surrendering and an expansion into remembering that truth of who we really are, which is giving way for the higher self and the soul and consciousness to express itself through us without it going through so many filters of the mind. So if you're finding that you're kind of being very forgetful, you can't remember things as much, you know, your memory is not as sharp or things aren't as sharp, what I would recommend is try not to grasp it. Don't worry about it. This is a process of disengaging the mind for you to be in the wisdom of your heart, to be more in your feeling state and less in your thinking state, which is, of course, where we've been trapped for so long. So as much as you can, just continue to remind yourself of that process and stay in the wow, and notice and celebrate when new sensations arrive to the body, when your sight does open to something new, when your hearing or your sensation, your feeling opens to something new, when your psychic senses start to open. Don't forget to say thank you, because it's in the gratitude of those things happening that, number one, you'll relax more into it and it will become more normal for you. And number two, it will happen more often. This is how we develop our intuition, by continuing to acknowledge when these gifts come and say thank you when they do. Another huge theme that is coming through, I feel, for May and beyond, and this process really started, I'd say, towards the end of April, is this reviewing of what no longer works for us and calling in something new. So it can be for many people that we are feeling kind of in the void. It's like there is a dissolution of everything that once was, of our beliefs, of how we've worked before, how we've shared our relationships, perhaps not just romantic, but all of our relationships, interactions, businesses, career, work, and even our tools, even our sacred tools and our spiritual path, the things that we thought were true for us, are sort of up for questioning right now. And that is such a powerful, albeit sometimes uncomfortable, place to be in. It's powerful because as a very wise Apu, and Apu is a spirit of a mountain, and I was with my maestro Apu Ausongati. He is a mountain in the southeastern end of the sacred valley of Cusco in Peru. He's the chief guiding mountain there, the chief guiding Apu. And when I went to visit him once many years ago, he gave me a very clear message. As soon as I stepped foot out of the car, he said to me, empty yourself of everything that you think that you know, so that the real truth may be revealed. So when this process happens, it can almost be like there's a huge forgetting. It's like you feel like you're floating in an abyss or in a sea of, you know, nothingness, where you can't grasp or grab onto anything that kind of brought you comfort before, or that you knew to be true. And it can be really disconcerting, but it's such a powerful place, because it's in this place of the void where the newness, the next part of your journey, the next part of your step, the next direction, your purpose, your mission, the next level of whatever it is being born in that space, in the Sophia, in the darkness, in the creation, the void of creation, the cosmic womb. So as much as you can, if you hit this and it feels overwhelming for you, the tendency is to resist it and to try and grab and grasp and look for a way out of it, or cling to the ways of doing or being from the past, trying to grab on to something familiar, to be oriented in the moment, to find our orientation in the moment. But if you can, just know that it's a very, very powerful part of the process, and see if you can actually allow yourself to surrender into the discomfort, knowing that it's temporary and knowing that something amazing is on its way. And yes, it's going to be big, and yes, it's going to change the trajectory of your life, but that everything that you have been doing up to this point has been preparing you for that. And not to panic that you're not going to be ready, because everything that continues to happen step by step is going to be preparing for you to step into that also. So you'll know exactly what to do and when. This again comes back to beyond the trust. It's the knowing that you're safe, that your higher self's got this, and that you can trust yourself. You can trust your intuition. You can trust your higher self. You can trust life. You can trust the universe. Really, you really, really can. You are never, ever, we are never, ever, ever given or dealt more than we are able to handle, ever. You know, this energy is intelligent, and everything that we've received has been a co-creation, and we have received that and moved through that because that's exactly what we needed to get to where we are now. And if you think about it, you think about your greatest traumas, your biggest hardships. Would you be who you are now if you hadn't have gone through those things? You know, even though it may have been super challenging in the time, the goal and the wisdom, the yache, we call it in the Andes, that you've received from moving through that has given you the tools to be where you are now, to move forward into your next level, and even to be an example and a lighthouse for others. So everything is happening in divine timing and sequence, and everything has its very powerful purpose for what is happening. So as we are liberating those things that are no longer serving us, or we're going through that process of questioning, it's also time now to take action. So that means leaning in. It's kind of where the rubber meets the road. You can't sit on the bench while the game's being played anymore, my loves. You got to get your bum up and get into gear and get into action. And that can be really uncomfortable, especially if you've been in a cocooned state and you've been moving through all of these big processes, and there has been a lot of stuff coming up for you. You may just want to be hanging out there for a little bit longer, or maybe just forever. But we need to harness our power of will, which is a divine gift that we were given by Creator, and own our 50% and show up and make the decision to take a step, even if it's a tiny, tiny step. Just take a step forward in the direction of where it is that we want to be, where it is we want to go. And that means embracing your gifts, whatever they may be, and not being afraid anymore to share them. I know that it can be really a daunting thing to be seen. And it's not to say that you have to be out there on social media or on a stage or doing ceremonies. I'm not talking about any of that, but I'm just talking about whatever it is for you. And you know what that is for you. You know where you have been holding yourself back through your fear, through your self-doubt, through your limitations. Make self-doubt work for you. Self-doubt is awesome. We are always going to be experiencing an energy of self-doubt, because every time we hit that doubt, there is an invitation to go beyond ourselves. When we hit that doubt in ourselves, that is our higher self saying, come here, this way, this way. There's a new level of expansion for you, but it's not going to come easily. You can't just, run your way in. You have to, there's something that you've got to move through to make it worthwhile, to make it count. So if we can reframe how we see self-doubt as an opportunity to expand into greatness rather than something that holds us back, then it shifts that whole relationship to self-doubt. Self-doubt also keeps us humble. It keeps us connected to our why. So, if you're wanting to step into something, it makes sure that it's not the ego ruling the show. It brings us back into humility and connects us back into the true purpose behind whatever it is we are stepping into and whatever it is we are sharing. And that is a beautiful thing. So it's a tool. The self-doubt, the fear, the limitation, they're tools for us if we can reframe that relationship with them and understand them in that way, that rather than something that holds us back, there's something that's actually giving us an invitation and even the fuel to step forward. And when you do, those little wins that you get every time you move through and pop through into the next thing, celebrate them. It's really important to acknowledge where you've been and how far you've come, because I can guarantee you, if you were to look back, over the last couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of years, maybe even a few days, because we're expanding and growing every single day, and you actually take a moment to see how far you've come. For you, because you're just moving through it and you're going through, it can be very easy. You just, you're in the constant process and the cycle, to not actually acknowledge how amazingly you are doing, how far you have come, how much you have shifted in your life, in the way that you create, in the way that you manifest, in all aspects of your being. So please remember to say to yourself, like for me, I'm like, Well done, Gemsy. Well done, little Gemsy. You are doing so good. You got this. I love you. You are awesome. Talk to yourself. Talk to your little one. Talk to your inner child. Talk to your inner being and encourage. Become your own greatest cheerleader because nobody can cheerlead you like you. And finally, the last thing that I just want to share about this is to pay extra attention to our dreaming. There is a lot of massive dreaming. I've just come off a call with my Humpik Newster apprentices where we are doing our next block within our course on dreaming and working in the dream state, which we call Rikchari, which means literally to wake up. And right now we are processing so much through our dreams. And it is, for me, these dreams that we have that are quite intense and heavy are really such a beautiful gift from our higher self and from spirit to do the work that we need to do the healing work that we need to do, the transforming of any traumas or anything that has happened in any time, space, or dimension where, once again, we haven't been able to do it for one reason or another because we haven't had the tools, we haven't had the time, or it's just been too big and too overwhelming for us to do it. And we process those experiences through the dream time. So it's actually a very kind gift and very generous gift of spirit to allow us to move through those. And because we are being cleared out, emptied out, and prepared more and more and more for these new energies that are coming in, then that process can be happening like on steroids. There can be a lot of clearing out and moving in the dreams. Sometimes you might be finding that you have repetitive or recurring dreams around the same theme with different people as you move through all of the aspects of your life, clearing those patterns and those lines. And I would say to let go of most of what's coming up, to celebrate that it's arising, to be liberated, and at the same time taking the gold from those things, like the understandings. This is where I've played this pattern out. I'm going to decide that I'm going to change this in the physical reality now. I'm not going to continue. The dreams are giving you, they're like clearing the slate, just like when we work with the medicines. They clear the slate and then they give you the diamond, and then it's for you to polish that diamond and make those changes in the waking world, in your physical reality. That's how we work with the dream time to shift reality. The dreams offer us a trapdoor to the subconscious mind. And there's a difference between the kind of dreaming that we may experience. We have prophetic dreams, we have dreams of guidance, healing dreams. I call them clearing out the rubbish dreams, dealing with the subconscious dreams. And perhaps that's another video. I'll do something there where we can talk more about how we can work with our dreams and program our dreams, and learning to distinguish which dreams are giving us guidance on particular things, which dreams are there just as a clearing out and to let go of, and where we're actually connecting to spirit and to divinity and receiving a lot of healing and a lot of activation in the dreams as well. So there's a lot that is happening in the dream state, and ultimately we, as the ancestors of many traditions did and do, we are consciously beginning to learn to work with our dreams for awakening. So as we wake up in the dreams, we are also waking up in our life. We're dreaming literally our reality into form. So there's a lot of beautiful and powerful stuff that's going on in the dream world right now. So celebrate it. Keep a record of it with the ones that you know and you feel are giving you guidance, and also learn to understand the codes and the symbols that come through for your dreams. Because someone can say to me, oh, I had this dream, what do you think it means? And I said, well, I can interpret it for you, but what I want to hear is what it meant to you. Like if that animal ally showed up, and as we were just speaking about in our call, usually when an animal shows up, it's telling you something about your physical process, so that animal comes to you with very specific medicine, something to do in the physical reality, the physical realm. When elements show up in your dreams, they're speaking to us usually of something to do with our emotional process. And then when we're dreaming these very connected, dialed in, angelic, receiving healings, light codes, connecting with ascended masters or our apus, our mountain spirits, or with Pachamama, these dreams are the elevation and the awakening of our spirit, our soul, into our true essence. So it's an exciting month, May. It's very much about embracing the expansion and leaning right into this newness. So my wish for you is that you have the most profoundly beautiful month ever. The energies are continuing to be big and they're continuing to be fast, but I feel like there's the time and the space is starting to open to support us in moving into this newness so that we can start to recalibrate the nervous system and really integrate all of these very powerful, amazing energies that have been received into our physical, mental, and emotional bodies. So, my darlings, please take care. If anyone feels like they would like to dive deeper with me into this work, I have an apprenticeship beginning and open to all called Wilkasuyu, which is all about the sacred space and sacred directions. And we're working for 3 months on a deep dive medicine journey with the medicine of cacao and learning how to serve that cacao in a way that we can facilitate deeply transformational and healing spaces for our loved ones, our families, our communities. We have many amazing guest facilitators joining us, my maestros from the Andes, along with other very, very powerful light workers and beings. And everybody that does this training with me is just absolutely astounded in how it changes their life and how it gives them the tools to step more fully and greatly into their path of service. So if that's something that you feel like you'd like to join me for, then please check it out. It begins the 1st of August. There are other offerings coming up as well. If you want to come work with me, you can come join me in Peru or on one of our in-person retreats or trainings. And that's enough for me from now. All my love, enjoy these beautiful, powerful energies, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye for now.